You are listening to Did You Hear?
Did you hear?
The Johnson County Library Podcast.
We are coming to you
From the Central Resource Library
in Overland Park, Kansas.
This is your Library Insider.
If you've ever peeked into our eLibrary, you know there's an almost overwhelming amount of resources there. On this episode of Did You Hear, our hosts Melissa Horak-Hearn and Dave Carson chat with our eResources selector Hope Harms and me, Amy Field, web content developer and ebook fanatic, about e-music, streaming video, e-audiobooks, and more. But first, our weekly word.
Petrichor, a pleasant smell that frequently accompanies the rain after a long period of warm, dry weather.
eLibrary. Eccentric, eclectic, eerie, efficacious, effervescent, effluent, eldritch, egregious, elephantine, electric, empirical, empathetic, eponymous, entropic, excellent, esoteric, exotic, exhaustive.
Enough.
Agreed. But this is our Extravaganza!
Yay!
So, E is actually for electronic, and so if you go to the Joko Library website, jokolibrary.org, across the top of the webpage, you will see the navigation for our website, and one of the main sections and most popular sections of our website is the eLibrary. In other words, the electronic library. So when you're out on the floor of any of our libraries where we have our physical collection, just think about this. We might just have that book, audiobook, magazine, newspaper, or DVD in a digital format, an electronic format, to access on your computer, your tablet, your phone, or maybe you even stream it on your smart TV. Maybe you cast it to your smart TV. We have an amazing digital collection. So, did you hear about our eLibrary?
I've heard about our eLibrary, Dave.
And
I love our eLibrary.
I do too. And you know,
I love going to the library in my jammies. And there I can, and I won't get arrested.
Wow. Huh. Speechless.
That's amazing.
Well,
I didn't know I had that power over anybody.
When I think of eLibrary, I think of one of our most knowledgeable librarians here at the Johnson County Library, and that is Hope Harms. Hi, Hope.
Oh, I'm blushing. Hello.
What is your position here at the library?
I'm the eResources librarian. I work on our collection development team and work to ensure we have lots of fun things available in our collection through electronic means.
That is excellent.
I see what you did there, Dave. Look at you including the E's. Not only does Hope choose the resources that we have with a team of miscreants, but she also helps us troubleshoot for our patrons so that when we run into a wall that we cannot break through, and we've tried everything that we know of, we go to Miss Hope.
Thank you,
and
Hope.
she saves the day.
Well, it's a team effort, for sure. It's a very dynamic landscape. So, yeah, never a dull moment in the eLibrary world.
So, when we're talking about eLibrary, we're talking about ebooks, e-audiobooks, e-magazines, e-music, e-newspapers, streaming video, and it's also where you'll find our mobile app. One thing that is also in our eLibrary that we will not be discussing today because it is chocked with so much stuff that we really need to dedicate an entire episode to e-learning. So we will not be talking about e-learning today, but that is in our eLibrary. Let's start right now as we explore our eLibrary. Streaming video. So let's talk about streaming video. If you go to the streaming video portion of our eLibrary, there are a number of options under streaming video, and a lot of people don't even know that we have video that you can stream. And we're talking kind of like on par with Netflix or Hulu. And the one that I think we should start with is Canopy. Tell us about Canopy, Hope.
Yeah, this area of our eLibrary has definitely expanded a lot in 2020. And Canopy is one that we're very excited to bring to our collection. So you're going to find a wide range of feature films and shorts. You're also going to see a lot of things that they call thoughtful entertainment.
Yeah.
So you'll range from a lot of different documentaries and things that you may think of in a more academic context, but definitely a lot of things that are much more entertaining as well. You may catch familiar titles like Moonlight. You can watch on Canopy.
Yeah.
And there's also a range of Criterion films. So they have 50 popular Criterion films that are on there all the time.
Collection.
Well, they rotate the top 50.
Yeah, so they have 50 of their most popular Criterion films are on Canopy as well.
Right. So as we explore our eLibrary, one thing that we're going to do is, have Hope introduce us to the service that is offered in our eLibrary. But we're also going to talk a little bit about the users and how we use it. In this case, I'm going to step in because I love Canopy. Oh my gosh.
We were nerding out hard
It's good
over
stuff.
Canopy the other day.
It's like it's one of those surprises, it's just this crazy pleasant surprise. And so what I did was I set up my account through the library. All you need is your card. You don't have to pay for this, And so you set it up, go to your smart TV, and what you'll do is you'll download the app. And so through the app, you can access all of these videos and watch it like you're watching Hulu or Netflix or whatever your favorite streaming service is. And I have my favorites. Okay, so some of the popular movies that I've already started, thinking, oh, this is for me. The Disaster Artist.
Yes.
I've not seen this yet, and I don't know if I should see The Room first and then The Disaster Artist or vice versa. Lady Bird, which I've seen, great. If you like Elizabeth Moss from Handmaid's Tale, she has a movie called Her Smell. There's also the great vampire movie, What We Do in the Shadows. Yeah,
That's one of my all-time favorites, and I did not realize that it was on there.
There's some great documentaries,
I know what I'm
too.
doing tonight.
Like Super Size Me 1 and 2. Didn't know there was a 2. I Am Big Bird, Echo Canyon, Amy, which is Amy Winehouse, not Amy Field, who may be joining us on the podcast today.
There should be a documentary about our Amy, too.
Word.
That's interesting. And then just the great categories. You mentioned that there's a Criterion collection, but there are also there's a section that identifies Oscar winners and nominees, which is great because I'm always looking for, just great performances, great writing, great cinematography. There's a newly added section, Trending Now, Best Films of the 2010s, Art House Favorites like Loving Vincent, which I'm putting that on my list too. The New York Times Critics Picks and the Canopy Staff Picks. All of those are excellent. And if you don't know what to watch and you find yourself in a show hole, man, they get you out of that show hole because they have so many good things. And so I'm going to share what I've added to my list. I've added Heartbeat Loud, which is Nick Offerman. And so if you watched, Ron Swanson, and you're missing some Ron Swanson from Parks and Rec, hey, go watch this movie, right? Son of Rambo.
No.
Yeah, Son of Rambo's on there. Backstabbing for Beginners, which I will watch anything Ben Kingsley. It's pretty amazing. I love some foreign movies too. So Hara Kiri, Death of a Samurai. That sounds like a good one. La Belle Nocise. I don't know how to say that. But it's a 4-hour movie. But it looks good. Let's see. I mentioned some of these, so I'll skip them. Frank, Computer Chess. We need to talk about Kevin. High Life, which is a space movie. Moonlight. Everyone Else, which here is one of those rare to find movies. This movie made $11,000 at the box office. But the critics love it, right? And so here's your chance to see something that's gold, right? In Jackson Heights and The Lobster. Nice. And then the two that I want to briefly talk about, okay? So I saw Dolomite Is My Name on Netflix, and then I got done. I was like, I got to see the movie Dolomite, right? And we don't have it in our collection. And then I'm like, can I get it through interlibrary loan? I might be able to, but, I want to watch it now, It's on Canopy, and I am so happy about that. because Dolomite is my name, and I'm not going to tell you what his game is. The other one I want to mention is the only one that I've actually watched so far, and that's Captain Fantastic. And you know what I learned from that movie? I learned that I should really reel back the number of times I say the word interesting.
That's interesting, Dave. Why do you say that?
Because Viggo Mortensen is the main character in this movie, and he's raising 6 children off the grid in the Pacific Northwest woods, and they have to do a road trip to go, to their dead wife / mother's funeral, and they realize that, while they're poet, philosopher, warriors, they also don't really fit into the real world, which I can relate to as well.
I feel that.
But he told his kids, he's like, use your words to describe your feelings and your thoughts. Interesting is not a word. I was like, oh. And I've thought, how many times in the podcast have I said, interesting? Too many. Anyways, that's my very heartfelt and very excited assessment of Canopy, and I can't wait to watch more. And I should mention, you get to watch 10 of those movies in Canopy a month.
That's correct. Yeah. So one of the arrangements that we've made with Canopy, in order to keep our prices affordable for the library, each patron gets to redeem play credits, 10 play credits a month, and those refresh at the beginning of each month.
Now, that's not true for Canopy Kids.
I was
which
just
is another
about
one.
to say, Canopy Kids does not eat your credits. So
Right.
I could let my kid watch Franklin all the live long day, which Canopy's the only place that I know of that has Franklin.
Wow.
Yeah. And the screaming gets to the point that you have to. But all the Franklin all day long will not take my play credits away.
So what's in Canopy Kids? Because honestly, I haven't browsed through it because my child is no longer a child. She's in college, so.
Well, from what I can tell, there is a ton of PBS. Like, I think that Netflix or Hulu or one of the pay systems has some Sesame Streets. I'm pretty sure that Canopy Kids has all the Sesame Streets. And I'm going to make my kid watch some of them from the 70s because they were way better.
Let's hear from the expert. What is Canopy Kids?
Yeah, it's a whole portal within Canopy that offers kid-friendly content, and a lot of it has storytime favorites. So if you know, like a Mo Williams Pigeon, or there's some Ezra Jack Keats in there, Where the Wild Things Are. So a lot of storybook favorites are in there that you can just play over and over. But there are also some cool educational things, different things that focus on history or science. There's also some cool language content. So you might see things from language learning designed specifically for kids from the Muzzy series and from Little Pim series.
Yeah,
But
I noticed those. There was the language series that I was happy to see because those are really hard to track down anywhere else. We've got some of those resources, but they're always checked out. They're almost impossible to get. But I also noticed that there's a really cool range of history programming for kids.
Yeah, it's very approachable.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and
really
also
is.
bite-sized, so good for kid attention spans as well. You can
Yes.
find they have some short movies as well. If you just want to get something quick for, maybe a car ride, if you've still got your data streaming or something like that.
Very
but yeah,
good.
you'll get your PBS favorites too. So you'll find things like Arthur, Sesame Street, Daniel Tiger, all that good stuff.
That is fantastic.
Now, I know that Canopy, the grown-up section, has a ton of foreign language films, a ton of foreign language programming. Does Canopy Kids have that same?
It definitely does pull from some international content as well. So you're going to see films worldwide pulled into the kids section as well. It is curated for those.
Speaking of international titles,
Yes.
tell us about Acorn TV.
Well, Acorn is also a new addition for us, and this is great for our British TV and film lovers. So you're going to see some more familiar titles in here, things like, especially your mystery lovers are going to eat Acorn up. So Midsummer Murders, Poirot, Murdoch Mysteries, Miss Fisher's Murder Mysteries. These you can all get on Acorn TV. So some of our patrons are already very familiar with Acorn on their own. This is a new addition to the library. And we work with a library partner, a vendor called RB Digital, who has made that partnership so that our library patrons can plug into that consumer access that is Acorn. So you get to come to the library, check out a 7-day all-access pass to Acorn. After those 7 days, just come back and check out another pass from the library through your RB Digital site.
That is awesome. And I'll tell you what, boy, I'm replacing interesting with awesome. It doesn't matter. So what we're talking about with Acorn TV is beyond PBS. It's beyond BBC. It's beyond Netflix. And there's original content as well. There's Acorn originals. And so, it's another one that's right on par with Netflix or Hulu. And if you don't want to shell out, the extra money for a good streaming service, this is definitely one. You have stuff like Agatha easy for me to say, Agatha Christie's Marple. That's a very popular program. I saw this documentary that I really fascinating. It's called Blitzed, Nazis on Drugs. And it's about methamphetamine during World War II. Nazis on meth.
Right on. That book came out a couple years ago.
Is that right?
Yeah, and I had no idea that there was a visual component at all. Yay, Acorn.
And I mentioned, they're the originals, and like Agatha Raisin, Witness of the Inspection, Blood, Detectorist, Keeping Faith. They've got comedies you've seen Rosencrantz and Guildenstern Are Dead.
Oh, yeah.
They've got that. Nice. That's pretty cool. Rake, Parents, and Mount Pleasant. Then they've got dramas and mysteries and documentaries, so it's definitely worth checking out. Ebooks. So let's talk about another section of the eLibrary, very popular ebooks. And to bring in as a user expert, we bring in our friend Amy Field. Hi, Amy.
Hi there.
You've been sitting here this entire time?
Sure, I have.
Hope, tell us what we'll find in the e-book section of the eLibrary.
In the ebook section, it's where you're going to find our Access 360 collection, which is our platform that we use when we purchase all of our ebook titles, or access for our ebook titles. You're going to find things for adults, teens, kids, your thrillers, your romances, your mysteries. It's all packed in here. We'll also find book flicks as well, which is from Scholastic, which has some kid-friendly pairings as well. But the most popular ebook service we offer is through Access 360.
That's great. So tons for adults and then stuff for kids as well.
And teens.
And
Great
so,
YA section.
So Amy's going to tell us all about the book flicks because she loves kids' books. I'm just kidding. Please, talk about whatever you want.
You caused her physical pain.
I don't know about book flicks.
I have seen book flicks though, and it's very cool. It's based on a very important early literacy skill, and that is reading while you're hearing, and to have a visual element as well. That's really helpful to a kid.
I also found out from Becky at Oak Park, one of our youth services folks, that there are 2 books that are narrated by James Earl Jones.
What?
Right? One of them is Why Mosquitoes Buzz in People's Ears.
Which is a great book.
It's one of my all-time favorites. And so that book plus James Earl Jones reading it, and my brain exploded.
Wow.
What's the other one?
I can't remember.
Oh.
I got excited about that one. But thanks, Amy.
But that's something we do for our listeners. We give them homework assignments. You go find out.
You go find out.
We're not going to tell you everything.
What the other James Earl Jones
It's like
book
an
was.
Easter egg. Find the other James Earl Jones narrated book.
And we will give you applause. Lots of applause.
Kudos on the next podcast.
Becky also pointed out that service is really good for parents who have reluctant readers at home, or kids who don't want their parents to hover over them while they're reading out loud. That's a great service for those kids.
It makes those books feel like games. It's
does.
very fun.
Very cool.
And sometimes there actually are games included with
Yes.
some of the book pairings that they offer. But yeah, it'll highlight the text as it reads along, which is pretty neat, good for readers. And there are a few Spanish titles in there as well.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, that is really great. Well, let's talk about ebooks for adults then.
Well, our same crack team of selectors who works on selecting our print books for our print selection are also selecting print titles for our ebook collection. And there's actually a whole team at the back of the house that works to ensure that you can find our ebooks not only on our Access 360 platform, but also in our regular catalog. So you can search right from our catalog and check out your ebooks there, see what you've got on your account, maybe renew or return early, or you can go straight to the Access 360 app and do that there. And if you don't see an ebook that you thought you should see, drop us a suggestion for purchase and we can see if we have access to it. We've got a really exciting collection the same way that you can find on our print shelves.
Excellent.
I sometimes kind of play all ends of the hold cycle and will put an ebook on hold and then the same title as large print and the same title as regular print because the hold list is long. And it's kind of nice to have that extra ebook option to sneak into the
She's a
hold
quadruple
list.
dripper.
I do that, but I read so much stuff
I do
that I
too.
do it with ebooks and then audios, and I'll see which one comes in first because I love both.
That's a great suggestion.
So I'm a pretty impulsive reader. If I go to the library, I don't always know what I'm going to read, even 1 hour from then. So I really like being able to browse Access 360 and check something out and then immediately begin reading it all from my couch. And you can do that with ebooks and e-audiobooks. And it helps when you're, sometimes you're up at 1 a.m., and you need something to read or something to listen to, like James Earl Jones, maybe, narrating something. And sadly, the library is closed at that time. And
the
so
e-library is always open.
exactly. You can always hop on Access 360 and find something interesting to read to help you maybe, get to sleep.
And when you go to what it is that you want, like right now I'm reading Midnight at Chernobyl, which is brilliant. There will be little suggestions that pop up in a stream across the bottom.
I live for those suggestions.
Right? I have found some of the most remarkable things in those suggestions, and I never would have thought to think about it otherwise.
Right, for sure. I also heavily use those. So if I'm reading or listening to something I like, I tend to go through those suggestions and start placing holds.
Same.
Yeah, as I'm still reading or listening
half
to
the
something,
time I
so
don't
they're
even
ready.
know what I looked at first to get to wherever
Right,
I am.
right.
Because I went
It's a
like 6
rabbit
pages.
hole. For sure.
I want to go back to, do all of you do this where you have multiple formats and you maybe listen to a chapter and then you read a chapter? Do you do that?
Sometimes.
Sometimes I do. I tend to not go back and forth once I get one in. So if I place a bunch of holds, whatever comes in first, that's the format that I read or listen to.
I've found that sometimes when I'm reading something that is a little dry and I'm having trouble getting past that second or third page because, oh my God, this person uses lots of words or whatever. If I go and check out the e-audiobook, then I can fly through it because it's so much more interesting when somebody's reading it to me.
Sometimes you hit the jackpot with a narrator.
You really
right?
do.
Yeah. I'm listening right now to a book called Shrinks, The Untold History of Psychiatry. I started listening to it, and the narrator is the author, and sometimes authors are good at narrating their books.
Can be hit or miss.
And sometimes they're not. So now I'm reading that book, and it's fascinating. I'm so glad that both formats were available so I could sample, because everybody has their own style and their own kind of narrator that's their favorite.
Well,
The Ronan
let's do that.
Farrow
Let's-
book, he
Yeah.
was brilliant, in my opinion. I thought that he was magnificent in his narration, especially when he put on voices.
Yeah.
Like at first it was a little jarring, but it made it so much more interesting.
Has a different voice for each of the characters.
He did.
Oh, that's great.
And, he like mimicked accents, foreign dialects and that sort of thing. And it really made it that much more engrossing because you could really mentally see the conversation happening.
Let's go around the table really quickly. Just Who's your favorite? What has been your favorite reading for an audiobook? Who's been your favorite narrator?
Jim Dale is always going to win my heart.
Yeah.
Those classic Harry Potter, Jim Dale narrated books.
Okay. I'll tell you what, I really loved Will Wheaton from
Oh, no.
Will Wheaton from Ready Player One. I thought he did a really great job. What about you, Melissa?
Tony Shalhoub reading The Cricket in Times Square.
Okay.
OMG. It was brilliant.
Language.
And my kid was like, well, this is a really great story, but why are you crying now? Because he was just so good. And I love Tony Shalhoub, and I wasn't actually crying. So let's forget that story.
Yeah.
I don't know where I went with that.
What about you, Amy?
Well, one of my favorites was Carrie Elwes reading As You Wish,
Yes.
which
That's
was
right.
a memoir of making of The Princess Bride. Such a fascinating book. I feel like even if you hadn't seen the movie or grown up with the movie,
Agreed.
it would
Right.
still be a pretty fascinating piece of, cinematic history. But having grown up with the movie and watched it approximately 3 million times, it was just absolutely charming. And having him read it
his voice.
was just great.
And you
yeah.
Beautiful voice.
Yeah. You get all the behind-the-scenes stories in that one, and you get to know a little bit more about Andre the Giant.
Yes, you do.
So what are some of the notable titles that we've come across in our e-audiobooks section?
Well, I love the genre that's typically referred to as microhistory, and Mary Roach is one of the great authors in that genre, and I think one of my friends here has listened to her on audio as well.
Yes. I love her narration of her own book.
I will have to listen to some of her work. I've read, I think, everything, but I don't know that I've listened to
Packing
any
for
of them.
Mars. If you listen to her read nothing else, listen to her read Packing for Mars.
Really?
And the sort of the history of the space program and the way that you have to prepare people. It's specifically like what the astronauts go through to prepare for space flight and what kinds of considerations they had to have before they could start flinging people up past gravity's reach. And it is hysterical. So funny, so informative, and just brilliant.
Very good.
And also a Mary Roach classic, Stiff.
Yes.
Listening to her do that audiobook was great because there's maybe more grotesque graphic. Like you feel like you're with her as she's doing this research and having this visceral reaction to some of the things she's discovering about dead bodies. So highly recommend that listen.
Great point. The way that she reads somehow makes it seem like she's telling you a secret.
Yes. I also have a couple other shout outs I have to give. One of them is the best pairing of topic and narrator in an audiobook that I've ever encountered. The book is called Proof: The Science of Booze, and it's a fascinating microhistory. It's by Adam Rogers, and it's read by Sean Brunette, who has the most whiskey-drenched voice you could imagine.
Really?
It's fascinating and wonderful listen. The other one I want to mention, just because it's one of my favorite audiobooks, is called Dear Committee Members. It's read by Robertson Dean, who I searched and tried to find like everything he's read that I could track down. Dear Committee Members is a window into the life of a professional college professor and all of the politics involved in that, and it's absolutely hilarious. It was one of my best road trip decisions that I've ever made, and Robertson Dean does a great job narrating that one.
Wow. So our ebooks and e-audiobooks and streaming video are very widely popular sections of our e-library, but that's not all we offer. E-magazines. So another section of our e-library is very popular. Well, it's not very popular, actually, and it should be. It should be, because it's awesome. And here to tell us why the e-magazine section is something you should peruse is Hope.
There's so much. We have so much magazine content, and most of our magazine subscriptions come through the RB Digital platform. And one of my favorite things about RB Digital is that once you find your handful or 12 of magazine titles that you want to read, you can set them to automatically check out to you when the next one comes out. So I always have Runner's World check out to me as well, and we have a new title that's been out for a few months now in our collection called Mindful magazine, and so I've been using that as well. Automatically checks out and comes to my inbox. I get an email notification that it's ready for me to go read in the app. So that's really great. And we also have access, if you're in the business of being a smart shopper, we have access to the Consumer Reports online portal. So it's not just the magazine content, but the full magazine portal that you can get to through our e-magazines. That's super cool.
One of our assistant branch managers, Nancy, out at Leawood Pioneer, loves the Consumer Reports portal. And she told me that when she goes Christmas shopping, she will be standing in the middle of Best Buy being buffeted by all of these crazy people trying to find their bargains. And there she is with her phone out, looking on Consumer Reports to find the best buy for her money.
All of those independent ratings right there, ready at your fingertips.
Right, and I have to confess, it drives my wife crazy. If you're constantly telling your partner, it's like, well, Consumer Reports says the best toilet paper is actually, she's like, really? It's
use your knowledge wisely.
That's right. I am an educated consumer because.
While you're shopping, though, do you look up every product?
No, but you see, I'm not a browser. I'm a shopper, or a buyer.
Yeah.
I'm not a shopper. I'm a buyer. So I make a list and I go get the item that I want and I leave the store. I don't look around a lot, and so I have a plan, and so I will look at Consumer Reports before I go into that store.
Yep, I do the same thing. I research the heck out of pretty much every purchase that I make, but particularly the bigger ticket items. Mm-hmm. And Consumer Reports has always been the first place that I go.
It's really good idea to make sure that you're not buying something that's going to fall apart if you're giving it as a Christmas gift or a birthday present or something like that.
Well, and for yourself, you want to buy something once. Like, I want to buy a toaster once. I don't want to have to buy 16 of them because I bought something that was on super discount sale.
If you really care, you'll go there.
That's right.
It's true.
I should also mention, in the e-magazines from RB Digital, one thing that I really enjoy is some of the recipes that you find in some of the magazines. I'm not sure if we have Bon Appetit and Food and Wine, but there are titles that are like that, and it's so great to get some, higher end recipes, and just put it on your tablet and cook right from them in your kitchen. And if you like it, if it turns out well, you've got that magazine for as long as you want.
Yeah, those magazines are yours for keeps once you check them out, so you don't have to worry about them being returned. So especially those timeless things like recipes that you want to keep, and you can even take a screenshot of it and tuck it in your own personal e-library for your cooking needs.
E-newspapers. So, when I was a kid, there was a thing called a newspaper. We had one delivered in the morning, and then at 5 p.m., gosh darn it, we had another newspaper delivered.
No, you didn't.
It's true. There was the Kansas City Times and the Kansas City Star. But newspapers have gone away, and there's no way that you can access them digitally at all. The end. Sorry.
What a sad story that was completely untrue.
Not true. One of the sections of our e-library is e-newspapers. Tell us about it, Hope.
Yeah, so two of our most popular, one gets you all the local news you want, the Kansas City Star. That is the image edition of the Kansas City Star. So that means you're looking at digital versions of the exact same paper that used to be thrown on Dave's driveway in the morning. But now you can see it on your screen. It's mobile friendly, so you can look at it on your tablet or even your phone, or browse on your home computer.
And I think everybody can relate to poking around on Facebook and somebody shares some great story and it's like, oh, it's a Kansas City Star article. You click it and it's paywall, dead end, can't read it. Oh, but you can because you can go to jocolibrary.org, go to the eLibrary, e-newspapers, and look at the actual copy of the Kansas City Star.
Yeah, and the vendor that we work with gets those files from the publisher, so it includes all those special editions too. So you may have just seen a special section this last Sunday for a road to the Super Bowl for all of the Chiefs games, but all of the local news sections as well. You'll see those just like you would the regular newspaper, and you can search it. So you can do keyword searches and that kind of thing too.
Can't do that with the print copy.
It's true. You just get inky fingers.
Yep.
And not just the Kansas City Star, though.
That's true. So another favorite is the New York Times. So you can log in through our library access, get your daily pass. That's a 24-hour pass with your New York Times account to access the New York Times consumer website. So rather than looking at the print paper, you're actually looking at their website. And once you activate your pass, you can also sign into the New York Times app from your smartphone or tablet as well and get it on the go.
I get so many suggestions thrown my way to New York Times articles, and again, it's that dreaded paywall. We have a way around it.
I'm glad because I run into my limit about 5 minutes into every month.
And just remember, it's your community that's actually helping you pay for that. So the library pays for all of these services, but it's tax funded. So it's a gift from your community to break down that paywall.
It's a gift from us to us.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah, it is.
Thanks, patrons.
I know that a lot of folks, entrepreneurs, they're pretty crazy about the Kansas City Business Journal. That's worth mentioning, I think.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's a great portal. It'll update daily in terms of the content that's there, and it also has archived information and some of the archived special content that they have, like the annual Book of Lists. These go back quite a few years, and it's a great resource to see what the buzz in KC business is.
And just to wrap up this section of our eLibrary, in the e-newspapers section, you'll also find a link to the Shawnee Mission Post, but that is library, in library for its use only, right?
Yeah, right now we're set up so that if you come into any of our buildings, you get unlimited access to the Shawnee Mission Post website. And it's a great resource if you're looking to see what's up kind of especially the Northeast Johnson County area.
And also the Wall Street Journal.
Absolutely, yeah. That's all text-based, and it's really handy to go through and search for all of the different articles that are there and see what's going on a national scale.
The e-newspaper section is also a great place to browse through a list of all kinds of different newspapers that are available. And there's Access World News, which, if you just want the articles from various sources from throughout the world.
Absolutely, yeah. We've got a lot of subscriptions to regional newspapers, but there are things that cover a lot of big national papers and international. And we also have access to papers in Spanish and French and a variety of languages through Access World News.
E-music. You know, if I had a good Elvis impersonation.
You don't.
I don't. But, it's the E episode. We're going to talk e-music. So, Hope, tell us what one would find in the e-music section of our e-library.
Yeah, if you can't make it to the symphony, you may as well stream some great tunes from our e-library. We have a selection of offerings from the provider Naxos, so you're going to find a lot of classical favorites here, especially, but you're also going to find jazz music and world music.
Yeah.
There's a big collection there. The world music has some really neat compilations from all around the world through projects like the Smithsonian Folkways catalog. So really cool for expanding your horizons there. All of these also have apps that you can use. So you can create a personal account for a personal playlist once you log in with the library, and then you can stream from the app. So that's one of my favorite things to do with the jazz app especially. And I love doing that during the holidays. Just put on some jazz tunes and stream it throughout the house.
Yeah, and the other day you mentioned that, if you have a party,
Yeah, great background music.
Yeah, for sure.
A little mood, yeah.
If you're an ethnomusicology nerd, anybody?
Yes.
Thank you for actually
just a
knowing
nerd.
what that E word means. The World Music Library is heaven. I'm really into Caribbean music and
nice.
sub-Saharan African music. And that is the only source for a lot of things that I like to listen to.
Yeah,
It's
there's
just
no other place you
wonderful.
can get a lot of those things.
No. If you want to go beyond Bob Marley in reggae, there's nowhere. You might get Ziggy Marley in our collection, which is pretty cool. But on this World Music Library, the world is your oyster. The world's music is your oyster.
Your musical oyster.
Your musical oyster.
Well, today we have dived in and we've tried to have an exhaustive exploration of
We
our
haven't even scratched the surface, but we're so excited about it.
eLibrary Extravaganza.
Excited.
And, once again, go to jocolibrary.org and click on the eLibrary, and there you will find, I forgot to mention, that's where you can get an e-card. And so you don't even have to step foot in the library to get that first card. You can do that online. But please consider checking out some ebooks, some e-audiobooks, e-magazines, e-music, e-newspapers, streaming video. That's also where you'll find our mobile app. You'll also find our e-learning section, but oh boy,
We have to save that for another day.
for sure.
There's way too much fun stuff to talk about in that one.
But I'll tell you what, all those e-words I was listing off in the beginning, they definitely apply to all these wonderful things that you will find in our e-library. Bam! Did we miss a question you wish we would have asked? Do you have thoughts or stories about today's topic? Share them with us on Facebook. Facebook.com/JocoLibrary.
And now, our writer's quote of the day.
Hi, this is Carrie Worth. I'm a youth service librarian at Monticello Branch. My quote is from J.R.R. Tolkien, and it is, "Not all those who wander are lost." Have a great day.
We leave you with sounds from one of our locations. It's your audio minute we call Library Zen.
For more episodes of Did You Hear, go to the Johnson County Library website, jocolibrary.org/didyouhear.